Who could have possibly imagined it? In just one night, global temperatures plummeted, and a monster blizzard buried the world in snow. My company handed out emergency staples, rice, flour, and cooking oil. The supplies were too heavy for me to carry, so my boss had a coworker, Mal Bouffon, who lived along my route, give me a ride home. Mal Bouffon dropped me off right at my front door. He was about to leave when I called out to him. "Hey," I said, "could you maybe come inside for a little while before you go? I'm just worried the neighbors might get the wrong idea if they see me coming home alone with all this stuff." Mal Bouffon simply nodded and stepped inside the apartment. I let Mal Bouffon wait in the living room while I went to my room to put everything away. By the time I finished, it was already pitch black outside. I noticed Mal Bouffon kept anxiously checking the time on his phone. Feeling guilty for holding him up, I hurried over. "I'm so sorry for keeping you this long. You should really get going. And thank you so much for everything today." Mal Bouffon stood up to leave, but as he glanced out the window, his brow furrowed in concern. At some point while we were inside, the blizzard had started up again, but this time it was much worse. Huge, thick flakes, like goose feathers, were falling in sheets, creating a total whiteout. Mal Bouffon knew he couldn't wait any longer and said a quick goodbye. "I've got to go now," he said urgently. "If the snow gets any deeper, my car won't be able to get through." I stood by the window, looking down at the street below. From this angle, I had a clear view of the entrance to the nearby supermarket. Even with the snow coming down so hard, the crowd outside the store had grown even bigger. I could see people shouting, pushing, and shoving against each other in a desperate mob. I pulled out my phone to check the current temperature. My blood ran cold when I saw it. It was already a staggering -31 degrees Fahrenheit. I suddenly realized I still hadn't even taken off my heavy down jacket since I got home. It was mainly because it was just too cold outside. Even with the heat on, the temperature inside my apartment was probably only a few degrees above freezing. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the street below. A car wreck. It was immediately followed by a series of other thuds and crunches. It sounded like a multi-car pileup. My heart leaped into my throat. I immediately called Mal Bouffon, terrified he might have been involved in the crash. "Are you okay?" "I saw the accident outside." I yelled into the phone. He was standing beside his car, shivering uncontrollably from the brutal cold. "I'm fine," he chattered. "Someone already called for help. They should be here soon." But it was dangerously cold out there. I knew that anyone who stayed out in that weather for too long was asking for serious trouble. I watched the clock on my phone, my anxiety growing with every passing minute. Half an hour went by, and still, no one had come. I quickly called Mal Bouffon again. "Listen, why don't you just come back up to my place? With the snow this bad, there's no way rescue crews can get through anytime soon." "Okay," he replied, his voice full of relief. "Thank you. I'm on my way." A few minutes later, my doorbell rang. When I looked through the peephole, I saw Mal Bouffon standing there. His face was a ghastly blue, his lips already purple from the severe cold. I rushed him inside and immediately went to the kitchen to make him a steaming hot bowl of noodle soup. Just having something warm to eat and a roof over his head seemed to make a world of difference, and some color slowly returned to his face. I glanced anxiously out the window again. The blizzard was relentless, still dumping massive amounts of snow on the city. "I just hope this snow stops soon," I murmured to myself. Just then, Mal Bouffon's phone started ringing off the hook. He answered it, and I could hear a furious voice yelling from the other end. "Dad, I can't get home right now," Mal Bouffon said calmly. "You guys need to be careful and do whatever you can to stay warm." The voice on the other end exploded. "You ungrateful brat. Aren't you even going to try to bring us supplies? Do you want us to freeze to death? To starve to death? You ungrateful wolf. You'd be better off dead out there." The person on the other end screamed one last insult and then viciously hung up on him. I quickly looked away, pretending I hadn't heard a single word of the conversation. By 11 p.m., the blizzard showed no signs of stopping. It was a terrifying thought, but if it kept up like this all night, the first floor of our building would be completely buried by morning. I opened my phone and started scrolling through the news. Doomsday theories were running rampant online. Even though this was only the first day of the shutdown, a deep, primal panic was already setting in across the population. Suddenly, a horrifying thought struck me. In this cold, I said out loud, the water pipes, they could freeze and burst. I ran to the bathroom and turned on the faucet. Water was still running, but I knew it wouldn't be for long. I grabbed every single container I could find, pots, pans, buckets, and started filling them with water as fast as I could. Mal Bouffon immediately understood and rushed to help me. We both knew it was only a matter of time before the water was shut off completely for everyone. Just as we filled the last bucket, we heard a dull, ominous thud from deep within the walls of the apartment. The pipes had burst. I quickly took stock of our existing supplies. We had a decent amount of bottled water of various sizes. If we rationed it carefully, it could last us over a month. Thankfully, the central heating was still on. Taking advantage of the lingering warmth in the room, I crawled into my bed, ready to get some sleep. But at 3 a.m., the constant buzzing of my phone woke me from a restless sleep. I realized the room had gotten much colder. Even huddled under my thickest blankets, I was shivering uncontrollably. I grabbed my phone, my fingers numb. In the building's online group chat, tons of residents, who had also been woken up by the freezing temperatures, were demanding to know why the property management had shut off the heat. The property management finally sent out a mass message: due to extremely low temperatures, the building's heating system has suffered a critical failure. It has been temporarily shut down. Repair crews are working on the problem. I buried my head back under the covers, trying to find some pocket of warmth, and eventually, exhaustion took over and I fell back asleep. I woke up early the next morning. It was impossible to sleep soundly in that kind of cold. Mao Buffon was already awake, too. He was staring intently at his phone, looking at the weather forecast. He showed me the screen. The temperature outside was now a horrifying -54 degrees Fahrenheit. "We can't go on like this," he said, his voice grim. "No matter how many layers we wear, this temperature is lethal. We have to find a way to generate our own heat." The reality of our situation was crystal clear to both of us now. Mao Buffon was stuck here for the foreseeable future. In these conditions, nobody was leaving their homes. "All I have is a small electric space heater I bought a while back," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "But I have a feeling the temperature is going to keep dropping. It won't be enough." "I think I can build a makeshift stove," he said, a look of determination in his eyes. "We can break up the furniture for fuel. It won't be pretty, but it should get us through for a while." I stared at him in disbelief. "A stove? You know how to make one?" "I've never built one from scratch," he admitted, "but I understand the principle behind it. I can try." We worked together, using sheet metal we stripped from a dismantled refrigerator and an old air conditioner to build a crude, boxy stove. With aluminum foil and duct tape, we fashioned a makeshift chimney. We carefully threaded the chimney out through a small gap in the window, then used more tape to seal the opening completely against the cold. This way, we could stay warm without risking deadly carbon monoxide poisoning. Even though sharing a small apartment with a man I barely knew was awkward in many ways, we were in survival mode now. There was no room for small discomforts when our lives were on the line. The snow was still falling, and the temperature would likely drop even further, but we were determined to do everything in our power to hold on and survive. I called to check on my parents. They were at our old family home in the countryside, which has a traditional heated kong, a brick bed that stays warm. They weren't worried about the cold at all. As I hung up, Mao Buffon's phone started ringing again. He answered, and I heard a desperate voice pleading from the other end. "Mao Buffon, please, I'm begging you, you have to bring back some warm supplies and food. We really can't hold on much longer," the voice cried. "Do you really have the heart to just sit there and watch your own family die?" "How am I supposed to get back?" he shot back, his voice tight with anger. "The second I step outside, I'll freeze to death." "You ungrateful wolf," the voice screamed. "Still only thinking of yourself at a time like this. Even if you die, you should die on the road trying to bring us supplies." "So what you're saying," Mao Buffon said, his voice dangerously quiet, "is that even if there's the slightest, 1 in a million chance I could bring supplies back, you want me to risk my life? And even if I die trying, it doesn't matter to you. You owe me this," his father roared. "I raised you. It's a debt you can never, ever repay. Even if you died for me, it would only be what's right." Mao Buffon said nothing more. He just ended the call. I lowered my gaze to our little stove, focusing on the flickering flames. It was his private business, and I didn't feel it was my place to ask about it. After a long, physically and emotionally exhausting day, we were both completely spent. Before we went to sleep, Mao Buffon placed a pot, which had frozen solid with water inside, on top of the stove. The heat from the fire would slowly melt the block of ice, giving us drinking water. We set up a small tent we had bought a while ago, positioning it as close to the stove as we could get. This would be where we slept, huddling together for warmth. The next morning, I woke up and immediately checked my phone. The temperature outside had plunged to a nightmarish -67 degrees Fahrenheit. But thanks to our little stove, the temperature inside the apartment was still within a bearable, survivable range. I breathed a small, shaky sigh of relief. I pulled back the curtains to look outside and saw that the snow had actually lightened up a bit. But when I looked down, my heart sank. The snowdrifts were now piled up as high as the second-floor windows.